Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and this week we have episode number 17 of the K2N vlog. I just got my hair cut today, and I went with a high fade instead of a mid fade, and he decided to take all of my hair. So this is the least amount of hair I think I've ever had in my life. But by next week, I'm gonna have a full head of hair again, so rest assured. This week is the calm before the storm. Here in the Southeast United States, we have an event called Chattajack, which is 32 miles down the Tennessee River. It is a one-way race, and it is a downriver race. It's not an incredible amount of current, but there is some semblance of help each year. Chattajack is a very unique race because it has such a high amount of participants in all kinds of different paddle crafts. The event in the past has been primarily a stand-up paddleboard event, but a lot of those paddlers have branched off into outrigger canoe and surf ski and the OC6 and team paddling boats. I myself am a prime example of doing it on SUP and then progressively doing in other crafts each subsequent year. It is a very cool event, and it's a gathering of the majority of the paddling community on the east side of the United States. And for many people, it ends up being like their Boston Marathon, where it's the one big event of the year to kind of cap off an entire season of training. This will be my 6th time going down the river, and this year is my 5th consecutive time. They make a showcase and give out belt buckles for people that have done it 5 consecutive times. The plan this year was to do it on the prone paddleboard, but unfortunately I don't have a vessel anymore, and I was able to go into a men's OC6. I get to steer the boat down the river. This will be my 2nd time steering an OC6 on that course. I did it the first time in 2019, and our team was lucky enough to win. One of the plaques that we have here from Chattajack that is up on the wall is from that event. Chattajack's influence on my club here has been very large. It is one of the tools that we have available to create excitement and to create goals for our paddlers within the organization. We've had many paddlers that literally learn to paddle with our group, learn of races, and then learn of the Chattajack, and then ultimately take the steps to complete the race. 100% of them, the first time that they hear about 32 miles, they say, no, I'm never doing that. As their skills develop, as they become more engrossed within the community, that thought is always in the back of their mind, and our club is set up to facilitate this learning process in building confidence and the subsequent endurance and skill to command a vessel down the river. So we have equipped dozens of racers with paddle crafts and the skills and all of the resources needed to be successful on the race course, and have put that into action. And so from a club dynamic, it's excellent, right? It's something that gets a lot of paddlers to log a large amount of mileage in the summertime. In Florida, when it gets really hot, there's not a lot going on because races can't safely be executed in the same way as the fall, the winter, and the springtime. So it's really easy to just kind of take off the summer and not really log any mileage. And so when people have this built-in off-season in the middle of the year, they don't take these steps forward the same way as somebody who is going to log this mileage. So many people get to this elusive belt buckle year, and then they're done with the event. They feel like they've reached the top of Mount Everest and they're all done with it. And for me personally, it is a fun endeavor to do so many different paddle crafts in such competitive fields that I can't see myself not participating unless the event itself just went out of business. So I always foresee that it will be our Boston Marathon as a tool to get new paddlers to come together to triumph over a very extraordinarily difficult course. So the talking point that I wanted to go over today is talking about some of the training methodology that goes into being a successful sprint athlete or endurance athlete. And one of the topics that we do not discuss on the YouTube channel is training methodology. But on the website, I do offer training plans, and that is one of the most popular formats in the K2N Online Paddle School. It is ultra affordable, and so it allows me to interact with paddlers all over the world, no matter what their economic situation is. If they have an interest in having a training plan, I can get that out to them. But at the same time, I don't publicize some of the methodology that I use with these paddlers publicly. And it's not because it's like highly secret, it's because training methodology is an opinion. When we talk about technique, I have a lot of these concepts and ideas backed by physics and leverages, and there is some semblance of science behind it. So when I teach the stroke, this is not the ultimate way to take a paddle stroke, but all of the data that we have is pointing closer to this than it is anything else, right? We're trying to emulate top-end paddlers. We're looking at the leverages. We're looking at using the entire body. There's so many things that are just very hard to disprove without falling immediately into fallacy. But with training methodology, there are so many factors that go into it that there is not a singular training methodology that is superior to any other one. And we look at marathon runners at the highest levels, right? You take the top 10 guys that are not within the same training camp and look at how they approach the marathon. They are going to finish within a minute of each other. And all of them have completely different split cycles and weekly mileage, lactic acid threshold training, all of it is vastly different. And so if you were to take these two camps, they would just argue until they're blue in the face, but both of them produce top-end world record potential athletes. So when we look at this, it is hard to broadcast information in this space without immediately starting a firefight. And so this opens up this door to too much information, right? And when we're looking at training, the number one factor that is going to help you improve over time is consistency. No matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it frequently with intermittent levels of high intensity, you are going to progress over a period of time. And so now it becomes a balancing act of how much time and effort are you putting into structuring this to get an added benefit. A great example of this would be monitoring your blood's lactic acid levels while you're working out, right? So this would be where like you prick your finger and use like a diabetic strip to monitor your current lactic acid levels. So immediately you're integrating this entire piece of equipment, these little strips, time and effort pricking your finger to get a piece of information, right? And so on surface level, it sounds like, oh man, this could be a breakthrough. This could be the thing that gets me to push to the next level. Ultimately, our body has a sensory system built in to monitor lactic acid, right? When your muscles feel tired, when your heart rate starts to go up. These are all factors that go into lactic acid threshold and how you're processing it. But if you're able to just push yourself and feel some of the effects of trying to simply get to a higher heart rate or feeling your muscles start to burn, this is the same exact. You don't have a quantifiable number, but you should have an idea. Can I push any harder, or is this the end of my exertion? This is going to tell you how high your lactic acid levels are. And then over a period of time, can you sustain the speed for a longer duration? Can you sustain the heart rate for a longer duration? These are all examples of that lactic acid threshold increasing. You can monitor it all of the time, but it becomes a moot point when it's something that you can monitor by using your own senses. So this is just one example of adding in a variable that becomes redundant in a sense. For many people, they're going to use it as a tool to try and make themselves more accountable, right? I want to hit this specific metric. I have a number that I can follow and my high score is starting to go up over time. So you make a game out of your process. There are many structures that can be implemented into a training program that again take a high demand in time, effort, knowledge, and tracking, and they only yield results that are equivalent to placebo effects. How you structure, are you on a 3-day split cycle? Do you have a 4-day microcycle? Do you take off every mesocycle for a week to recuperate? How long are your deloading phases? How long are your loading phases? There are so many factors and terminologies that you can throw into it, but a lot of times you're just putting lipstick on the pig, right? You're just trying to dress up a very simple, fundamental ideology. Getting on the water, balancing your intensity, and balancing your rest. You can name it however you want to, and you can structure it in any way that you want to. As long as you have this consistency, you will get better over time. K2N training plans try to make a baseline with each athlete and then use workouts that are designed to increase on these baselines and trying to keep the periodization pretty simple. Again, there's nothing wrong with it being complex and with it being a little bit more in-depth if you have the time and the effort and the knowledge to structure it in a particular way that you like specifically. That's awesome. That's a motivator for you to get on the water and to remain consistent. You're going to reach your goals. And there's kind of a beauty from my point of view in keeping it simple, right? Keeping it simple just keeps it honest and keeps it real, right? Putting too much smoke and mirror into your workouts may make you think that you're getting so much more out of it and make you defensive of how you're training versus other people's training plans. And that's not a great thing, right? Being open-minded, taking in information, and restructuring things how you feel is necessary. That's the key to help you stay on the water and keep working hard. So speaking of training cycles, this week and kind of the end of last week has been a tapering phase. When you log a lot of miles, the worst thing that you can do leading up to a long distance race is build up fatigue, right? So tapering is working out in a way where you are not building up this lactic acid and you are not building up fatigue. You are starting to get caught up on the fatigue. These workouts are inherently difficult because you go out and you don't really work. You feel like, oh, I didn't accomplish anything. But the thing you're trying to accomplish is recuperating, right? You are trying to recover. So each of the workouts are just kind of going through the motions to keep your muscles and nerve endings sharp, but not so hard that your muscles are now getting tired and rebuilding as you're approaching an event you want to be 100% for. This year it's pretty laid back. The crew that I am paddling with is extremely talented, so I get to just sit in the back and steer and smoke cigarettes, and they're probably going to be super fast, but I owe it to them to try and help and make the boat go as fast as possible with my personal fitness and skill set. So the tapering workout is paddling OC2 with a club member last Thursday, just paddling nice and easy out on the lake together and kind of checking out the scenery. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the K2N vlog, and we will see you all next week where we have our Chattajack race recap, and we'll see you guys then. All right, everybody, welcome back to Lake Hernando. So this is our morning practice on Thursday, and this is me bossing everybody around. This morning was 49 degrees, which in Florida Fahrenheit conversions is below freezing. So you can see I have some cold weather gear on. So we're kind of going through the game plan. We have Emily on the OC1. We have her heading straight towards the canal system that we're going to. And then the OC2 and OC1, we take a longer loop and try to catch up to her on the way over. So low attendance practice, primarily. We have some people out of town and the cold wards off a few people as well. Morning practice has been really successful with small boats, getting people out on the water and learning the new boats, or new to them with the outrigger canoe and surf skis. This week actually we've had, I think 12 at practice, which is good for us here. So me and Carrie here in the Gemini. This is the new boat that we've added to the fleet. I had a Tempest before OC2, and we recently sold that and upgraded to this Gemini. So this is the yellow Ama that was featured. Catching up to Emily here. I always like going really close to other boats, getting practice and being comfortable paddling in traffic. Just comes from, you know, spending time, having somebody right near you. It's pretty windy, so all of our, you know, cold fronts are wind driven from the north, and on the lake it gets relatively choppy with north wind. Not enough to downwind, but enough to keep you on your toes. So on the top end of the lake, this is still Lake Hernando, and it looks like a scene from Jurassic Park. So we have a cool little canal system here that has trees all around it. A lot of these are cypress and swamp oaks. Yep. So just a nice, easy tapering paddle. It's about 2 miles to our end location here. Once we get here, wait for everybody to get together and BS a little bit. Low attendance practices, everybody's tapering for Chattajack, and yeah. Hank in the OC1 is not doing Chattajack this year. In 22, him and I did Chattajack in the OC2 together. That was a really good run. Starting to paddle back with the wind protected by land to the right here, or to the left, and we'll have a little tailwind as we're coming back in. But yeah, for the most part, just a little chill paddle, getting some time in on the water. Tapering workout, again, just going through the motions, periodically doing a few power strokes, but nothing overly exerting. Great time to work on drafting and navigational skills. And this is us with the tailwind heading back to land. So next week we will have the race recap of Chattajack. We'll have some footage from the boats. My wife will be on an OC1, I'll be steering the OC6, and we should have cameras on both vessels. Hopefully we have more than just the start, but battery life and functioning the cameras on the river may be subject to change from the game plan. Thank you all so much for checking out the series. If there's anything you'd like to see discussed, talked about, or shown, feel free to comment, message anytime. The website is an easy way to connect with me directly. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you all next week.